So I'm Brian Doty. I'm one of the channel development managers at Kaseya. I get to do this stuff all the time. It's awesome. It's the best job I've ever had in my life. I love it. I've been in sales, tech sales for like 20 some years. I think I've seen a lot of things out there. But today I'm going to talk about some of the things that we're seeing with MSPs. And a lot of this comes out of our State of the MSP report that we put out every year. And when I was an MSP, I used to download this report because of this very slide right here. Why are people working with us anyway? Why do they need an MSP? Well, it was a little difficult back when to engage with people and explain what it is that we do as MSPs. Explain why there's value in that for them, why they should be paying your monthly recurring charges, right? Why should they be working with you? But now we're starting to see where small businesses and even some medium-sized businesses realize they need your help. They can't do this in-house with their own team, right? What unicorn are they hiring, that IT director that knows everything, right? Hard to find. So we're starting to see where the small and medium businesses are responding to the market. They're starting to say, we have real concerns and we can't address them on our own. And they're getting a little more savvy about cybersecurity and the risks that are out there. Maybe that's because we do a lot of educating in the community. Some of the other things that we're seeing is really where the margins are happening, right? So when we talk about high earning MSPs, Kaseya sort of defines that as like a $10 million shop, right? So it's a pretty high earning MSP. And what we're seeing is almost all of them are offering security services. No big surprise there, right? I am wondering what the other 3% are doing and what their stories are, right? Like, why not, right? What's the challenge here? Why aren't you in the game? Because it seems like everybody's in the game. But when you see like the big things that are still the big promoters, right? It's still BCDR, right? That's going to save the day, right? So these things are no big surprise to us. We're still seeing a big push for data protection, no matter where it lives, right? We all saw how that moved around during COVID and everything. But now we're seeing where MSPs, the standard is to get into network security and endpoint security and doing all those things as well. So nothing really surprising there. One thing, and I'll admit this is super self-serving, right? But we're seeing where vendor consolidation is a real thing. We're seeing where MSPs are saying, I'm dealing with 20 vendors. It's actually 17 on average. How many of you work with 17 different vendors or more, maybe? I used to pull my hair out, getting all these cold calls from sales reps. Like, we want to learn more about your business. Come on, I'm sure a Kaseya rep has done that to you a few times too. But the thing of it is you don't have the bandwidth for all this stuff. These are your partners you're working with. All the different billing, all the different, solutions that they have that overlap with other ones. And it's like the integration between these solutions is often broken, right? They have an API, it works great, it looks good, this is all cool. Get it all set up and a week later somebody does an update and it's gone, right? You gotta fix it and reconfigure it. And then you think about the resources that you're spending, right, with the different vendors. And then think about this, buying power. It's something that like we don't talk about it a lot in the MSP space, but the VARs out there, they get it. They get, one source. You put all your money in there, you're getting all your supply from that one source. You're a big deal to them. You're important to that vendor, right? They're gonna listen to you. They're gonna take your phone call. They're gonna help you handle your problems more. So putting your spend with one vendor really makes a lot of sense. You get a lot more out of that. And you look like a bigger fish, of course, to some of those vendors out there. All right, so what's really keeping MSPs up at night? This is another one that always is important to me, and I always look for this in the report every year. But it's still the big thing is acquiring new clients. Now, what we saw in years past, in fact, the last 3 years, it was about competition. Other MSPs might steal my clients. For like 3 years, that was the top concern in a row. And then this year, finally, acquiring new clients. Okay, that's the right kind of mindset shift. Forget about it. Somebody's always going to be chasing you. Somebody's always going to be looking at your client list and calling on them and trying to get their business. That's just life. That's just what business is. That's what we do. So if you think about it through this lens of acquiring net new clients and saying, yeah, I might lose one or two. I mean, I'm going to do the best I can to not do that, right? To not lose any. But I need to go out and acquire new clients and grow this business. The other thing we're hearing, and almost across the board, profitability. Profitability is a challenge for MSPs, and it's something that they're constantly working on. And so when we talk about MSPs and the role in the global economy, think about how many employees SMBs actually employ. It's like 70-some% of the workforce. It's like, I don't know, 60-some% of the global GDP is through small and medium businesses. Businesses served by MSPs. Almost exclusively, right? They can't do this on their own, and they're starting to realize this, right? But what we're saying is maybe the margins are a little slimmer than they should be. We did a survey last year where we asked MSPs about their net profitability. If you do the math on this slide, you're going to be a little confused because it adds up to 88%. There we go. So you're like, well, what about the other 12? Well, the other 12 said, I don't know if I'm profitable. What do you think the chances are they are profitable? They don't even know, right? It's kind of a challenge. The average, though, the average is around 10%. It's kind of rough, kind of difficult. And so when you look at other things that small and medium businesses outsource, right? Financial, legal, marketing. What the heck do people even do in marketing anymore? Isn't it all AI now? Like, doesn't AI drive all this stuff? It should be easy. But look at the margins they're getting in these industries, right? And MSPs are only getting 10% on average. Now, I'm sure many of you are doing way better than that. But the average isn't so great, and you could probably do better. And this is really the reason why Kaseya exists. We're thinking about the profitability of MSPs. We're thinking about the scalability and the efficiency. And this timeline, and maybe it doesn't belong here in the presentation, maybe put somewhere else, but you can see the long history we've had. We've been on a tear of acquisitions, and that's gotten us into some hot water a time or two, right? Changing things, billing things change, contracts change. We know we upset some people in the process, and we've done everything we can to fix it, and we're continuing to do that. And I'll talk about that more at the end. But when you think about all these acquisitions, we didn't just buy these products and stick them on a shelf. No, we bought these products and we integrated them. We looked at the workflows. We looked at what your technicians are doing and said, well, they're in this tool, and then they need to go to this tool, and then they need to go to this tool, and how can we make that all a lot easier? And so it ended up last year, we announced Kaseya 365. And we launched 2 editions of Kaseya 365. One is endpoint, and one is user. Can you imagine what they might have included in there? Well, I'll show you guys. So endpoint, everything about protecting that endpoint, right? Think laptops, desktops, IoT devices, things like that. RMM, third-party patching included, EDR included, managed SOC, endpoint backup, all included for $5.75. That's probably like 12 bucks or something. I don't know. Normally, like if you broke all these solutions out. And then think about the user subscription, anti-phishing, security awareness training, phishing simulations, right? Dark web monitoring. How about SaaS applications? That's where everybody's spending their time these days, right? That's where a lot of the threat actors are playing these days. And this is something we need to be keeping our eye on, as well as a backup solution for those SaaS applications, all included for $3.99. You think you could sell that? Like, pretty affordable stuff. And that was the whole impetus for this, is to drive profitability. We're not saying go lower your prices and go undercut your competitors. That is not the message at all. The idea is to give more profitability. Think about if you just had 100 endpoints and you were able to save 12 bucks an endpoint, and you just rolled those out, and it's 1,200 bucks a month in more profit in your organization. Now, it's pretty easy to do some back of napkin math and figure out where you could be. What if it was 1,000 endpoints and it's 12 grand a month? What could you do with 12 grand a month? Did you hire that technician? Could you give out a raise or two? Maybe you need a raise. Maybe you want to do some marketing, host an event to grow your business and acquire new clients, things like that. Maybe you want to help educate people in your community. There's a lot of things you could do with this additional profit. A lot of things. And then we just 2 weeks ago announced Kaseya 365 Ops. So we'll dive into that because this is the next edition. Now, this is all the behind the scenes stuff, right? Automated documentation, your PSA tools, right? Password management, password rotation. How about managing cash flow, billing? How about quoting, making life easy there? What about doing QBRs and showing your value to your clients, right? Being able to say, this is what we're doing for you. This is what the roadmap ahead should look like. This is the things we should be planning for, right? And then of course, MyGlue, so you could create a sticky situation with your clients where they're using a tool of yours to manage their passwords and share passwords securely with each other. It's a really nice way to round out the corners, right? So I'm going to dive into some of these things because if you think about all these different solutions and what it looks like for a different size shops, right? If you're a one-person shop, these tools can be kind of expensive for one person. Obviously, if you're buying multiple things, you get a little buying power, right? And you can scale it down a little bit and you can save a little bit of money. But those are some really significant costs to put these solutions in. And we're showing you some competitor solutions there, and they're good in their own various ways. But with Kaseya 365 Ops, it's $129 a technician. And you need 3 technicians on board. Not bad, right? Then you think about the workflow integrations, right? This is hard to measure. These are the soft costs, the 30 seconds per ticket or 10 seconds per ticket or whatever it is, or 5 minutes you're saving just by having a workflow in place that helps get the job done a little bit quicker. Think about what you can do with your business if you're able to scale and grow it, and you don't have to add as many technicians and new headcount every time you go out and acquire a new client. That's a huge challenge for profitability, right? When you're scaling an MSP, every time you go and do a new hire, you just suck down your profitability pretty quick, right? So we want to try to mitigate that and give you as much efficiency as you can get. So your technicians can manage more endpoints, protect more endpoints, work on more projects, work on fun stuff, not boring stuff. So thinking about some of the things that we're doing, right? Like just in the PSA tool alone, having your IT Glue documentation live right in the tickets, leveraging AI for the workflows, right, to help you respond to tickets. I'm going to show you one of the things that we do with ticket closure and things like that in a minute here, and it'll actually show you in real time. There's visibility. Now you can see what's going on in the organization and see where you're potentially losing some profitability. All right, how about automated documentation? This is one of those things, right? How many of your technicians love filling out documentation, right? They love putting in the comments and the tickets, and yeah, they love doing this stuff, right? No, not a chance, right? Your best technicians are always the worst ones at these things. What if you had something that was doing it for you, that was helping making life easier for them? Think about automating that entire process of documenting your clients. How about QBRs? Wouldn't it be really cool if your clients like paid attention to what you were showing them and what you were talking about and the things that you were doing for them and the road ahead, right? What if you could showcase that value to your clients and say, this is what we're doing for you. This is why you work with us. This is why you pay that bill every month, right? What about tracking? Like, you know, one of the things that we always screwed up was warranty status, my MSP. We were always a little late to the game on that, right? Oh, this warranty's expiring. Hurry up and call the client, let them know. It's not the best thing. They want to see that stuff ahead. Hey, next quarter, you're going to have this expiring. We have this coming up. So you're always planning for things ahead, right? And you're able to showcase that and automate a lot of the process of collecting this information and putting it in, because it's pulling this stuff right out of your documentation and PSA tools. Pretty cool stuff. There it goes. How about quoting, right? We spend a lot of time doing quotes. I mean, I had a Word document template I used to use that I'd be, messing with all the the fonts and the color schemes and all that all the time, and oh, this doesn't fit on here right, and all that kind of stuff. And it's just crazy. What if you had a catalog in there and you could just put together a quote real easily? How awesome would that be? What if your clients could receive this quote and approve it right there? You don't have to wait for anything, right? Yeah, let's go. Let's get it done, right? All branded with your portal. How about payments and billing? What if you could automate invoice collection, right? What if you could put that out there and have your clients see a portal of what their billings are and what you're charging them, and be able to go in and pay for things, right? What if it was all integrated on the back end with your financial systems and your financial tools? Pretty cool stuff. Being able to automate all that so you don't have to close down your shop for a week every month to do billing. So you don't have to say, leave me alone. I can't go on any meetings for the week. I'm busy doing billing and making sure it's all straight, reconciling everything. It could be a big challenge. How about collaborating with end users, right? We all love managing passwords and doing password rotations and things like that. How about enabling some self-service here, right? Making it easy for your clients to do this on their own so you don't have to get all those phone calls. How many phone calls do you think you take on a month for password-related issues? Is it something your technicians like to do, enjoy doing that? I mean, I could think of a few more exciting things in the day in the life of a technician, right? But what about a password management tool? Like, this is something we preach people to use password management tools out there, right? I still can't get my wife to use password manager. She still calls me and asks me for passwords for things all the time. Maybe we ought to get IT glue. I don't know. How about rotating Active Directory passwords, Azure passwords, right? Pretty simple stuff with this. IT Glue makes it really simple to do this. It'll actually auto-discover and document network devices, right? It's actually going to go out there and find everything and pull it in for you. Pretty cool stuff. Thinking about all the different tasks that a technician has to do, and if you could get AI behind that, embedded in there, to help propel you and make you more efficient. 300,000 different AI-powered tasks since we just launched this. It's amazing stuff. And if you think about the time savings, 10 hours a month per technician is pretty heavy. That's a lot of time they get back. You think about that. There's some significant work that can be done, or significant progress you could make on those projects that have been hanging out there for a while. Maybe you need your own network closet cleaned up, right? Sometimes that happens. How about, I was talking about documentation, but how about creating SOPs for things? It's always, I'm sure, your technician's favorite day when you're like, hey, it's the first time we're doing this. Can you just make sure you create a standard operating procedure for that? It's the first time we're doing it, it's the first time we're dealing with this client or whatever. We want to make sure we have it all buttoned up. And that's probably not something technicians are great at doing either. It's right along the lines of documentation and closing out tickets. But being able to have something follow what your technician does and create an SOP automatically is pretty compelling. Being able to say, okay, we've watched it, tracked what you did in here, and actually shows all the screenshots of those activities. Now, you can edit this, right? In case maybe the technician got another call in between or got interrupted or something, you can pause it, you can stop it, you can edit it afterward and make it all pretty and nice. But something that's taken a lot of the work out of doing something like that. That's a time suck that normally your technicians have to deal with. It's pretty cool. How about smart ticket summaries? Because this is like the big thing that technicians love doing. Right? He's going in there and saying like, this is what I did and this is how I handled it, blah, blah, blah. Nobody wants to do this. And technicians typically really suck at it. So what if AI was following along and said, this is what happened? And puts that ticket summary in there for you. Of course, you can edit that before you save it and close the ticket, but how about getting that done? And what about technicians that tinker around all day and they're doing all these things, but they leave tickets open and they go back and try to summarize them later, and not great, right? It's not the best strategy. But being able to do this and have this in real time, actually see what you're doing and put the notes in there for you. Pretty cool stuff. We're running a special now. I said it was $129 a month. That's our regular pricing, or what our regular pricing will be. It's $119 a month per technician, per user, right now for a promo. We'll probably run this for like a month or so. We don't have like a hard deadline on it. And the reason being is, when we launched our other solutions, when we launched our other Kaseya 365 subscriptions, they were so popular that onboarding was delayed. And so we had to sort of extend our special pricing out for folks who couldn't get in the door right away. So I can see us doing that again. Some of our partners got early access to Kaseya 365 Ops, and we got some feedback. It was really great feedback to get, right? This is a big deal, right? Think about the money that you might be losing in billing every month. Maybe you missed something, maybe you missed a few licenses, reconciling all that with your vendors, right? Pretty cool to take a process that's 10 minutes down to 1 minute. I love hearing that. Anytime we can do that, that's a more efficiency for you, right? And Jeremy, I happen to know pretty well. He actually got in the sumo wrestling pit at Connect a couple of years ago. It was pretty cool. But this is a great thing, right? Being able to go out and talk to your clients and show the value, show your work, right? It's pretty amazing stuff. I know I promised you all that I would talk about some of the changes that we've made in this journey, listening to our partners, listening to some of the challenges that come up. So offering flex spend allows you to shift between different tools that you're using with Kaseya and avoid having any kind of contractual issue there, right? So you can move spend from something you're not using, or maybe you lost a client, or, heaven forbid that happened, but maybe that's no longer needed. The biggest issue, and the reason it all came up with FlexSpend, was business continuity, right? Client has servers on-prem. You put some boxes in there to back them up. They go, we want to move to the cloud. You call up your Kaseya rep. Okay, I want to move to the cloud. Well, in the past, that was a problem, and it was a big sticking point for a lot of our partners, and they said, man, like, just kill the billing on that and let me go to the Azure. Come on. So that's where FlexSpend was born, and it's been working really well for us now to allow you to shift your spend around. Another big thing that we heard from our clients was, I got some really big clients that make up a huge chunk of my business, and there's risk involved in that. What if I lose that big client and I'm paying for all this licensing with Kaseya? Well, one of the things that we realized was, we can at least put a pause on things for people so they're not paying for air. We can at least be in the same boat with you. If you lose a big client like that, that's a huge gut punch. The last thing you want to be doing is paying a software bill that has no ability to bill out, right? That's bad. So we wanted to be in the same boat with you, and that's where we came up with catastrophic loss protection. So if you lose a client that makes up a significant amount of your spend with Kaseya, we will put a pause on that chunk of the contract for you. Pretty cool stuff. You hear other big vendors doing that? I don't know. How about a price lock guarantee? How many of you have been whacked with like a 20-some% increase in cost on something like that? We've done it. We're guilty. We've been there. So what we did was, he said, all right, what if we peg this to CPI plus a maximum of 5%? So when you get a renewal, that's what you're going to see. CPI plus 5%. You might be able to negotiate a little better or something, I don't know. But that's what you're going to see. It's a lot better than the surprise, right? How about multi-year contracts? This is probably the biggest one that we've heard feedback from partners on. I hear it all the time. I'm at like 40-some shows a year, and I hear all the time from MSPs that, I just don't want to buy a 3-year agreement. I'll go with it for a year. I want to try it out. I want to make sure it's a good fit for the first year, and then I'll do a 3-year if it makes sense. But I don't want to get into a marriage. We just started dating, It's a little early for that. So one of the things was our reps were all compensated for 3-year agreements. Did they want to sell a 1-year? No. So if you wanted a 1-year, they jacked the pricing up so high that you're like, all right, I'm not even going to look at that, right? So now we've said, all right, 1-year agreements, they're going to be 20% higher than 3-year agreements. That's it. Yeah, it's higher. Of course it is. It has more value to us as an organization to have a 3-year agreement, just like it would for you to have clients on multi-year agreements as well. It increases the value of your business. So we're trying to be more flexible, and this is a great start. You're going to see more things like this come out throughout the year, but this is something I'm very proud of. It shows that we're listening, we're working with internally, right? You have that battle, you have shareholders you have to respond to, right? You have to answer to those folks, and you would too. You have to find a way to accommodate your partners and still deliver results. And that's what this is all about. Since we launched Kaseya 365, we've done some pretty good math on it. We're figuring over $800 million in additional profit MSPs have been able to bring in. That's pretty powerful stuff.